This video contains spoilers for Resident Evil Village.
Resident Evil revolutionized survival horror when it was released back in 1996. Since then, the series has gone through several phases, from horror being the main aspect of the games, to introducing small action elements with Resident Evil 3 and 4, and then eventually shifting towards the action genre altogether with Resident Evil 5 and 6, which ended up almost killing the series completely. The sales from those two games were great, but the fans weren't happy. Then, in 2017, Resident Evil 7 was released, which revived the series by bringing it back to its horror-centric roots and giving the fans what they wanted from a Resident Evil game. To this day, Resident Evil 7 is still considered by many to be the scariest game of the series. Traveling to Louisiana is scary as is, but it's even scarier when you're in a Resident Evil game. The game's successor, Village, was released 4 years later, and while it was a great game, it didn't quite reach the same level of horror and tension of RE7. But there was one segment in Village that terrified me more than any Resident Evil game ever did: House Beneviento. There are honestly so many classic segments in the series overall that traumatize players for years, which makes the title of Scariest Moment difficult to give. The dogs breaking the windows in a creepy mansion, Nemesis chasing you through a rundown police station, or trying to find your missing wife through a rotten, broken down house in Dulvey. As iconic as those moments are, the House Beneviento segment was so perfectly executed from start to finish that it solidified itself to me as the scariest moment in the franchise. Immediately as you start the segment, the comforting save music fades away, leaving you in a gloomy silence. The only sounds left are the unnerving background score, the howl of cold winds, and the alarming caws of crows. You find an eerie grave that's surrounded by hanging dolls, parts of which are found in a baby stroller, an unsettling sight as you're trying to find your daughter. The bridge that connects you to the next area is the only one still traversable. The rest haven't fallen into disrepair. If this bridge were to also break, you'd never be able to come back. You're then haunted with hallucinations of your wife, who at this point in the story, you think has died. She pleads with you to fix your daughter, implying something's wrong with her, just like Mia in the previous game. Could it be that Rose is infected with the same mold as Mia? Finally, you reach House Beneviento, an abandoned, eerie house overlooking a high cliff with waterfalls behind it. The house has been left empty for who knows how long. The wallpaper's moldy, the food's rotted, the wood's cracking, and worst of all, it's dead silent. The only sounds you occasionally hear are the wood floors and furniture creaking, which is terrifying when you're already tense and it's too quiet. Like when you're home alone at night, every little sound can frighten you. As you explore the empty hallways of the house, you find the last thing you want to see in a situation like this: an elevator that takes you even lower. You're literally and figuratively descending deeper and deeper into this nightmare. You're filled with anxiety about what you might encounter. You went from exploring a creepy house to an even creepier basement. Walking through the next hallway, you hear playful music behind a set of double doors. Inside is the key item you seek, a part of your daughter on Angie's lap, the creepy doll you met earlier in the game. But of course, it's not that simple. The nightmare is only beginning, and now you're left in the dark with no weapons. One of the aspects that separated Resident Evil from other horror games was that you always had a tool to fight the enemies with. Even the enemies you couldn't kill, like Mr. X or Jack, you could still slow them down for a few minutes by damaging them. But now you have nothing. No knife, no wife, no gun, nothing. As you navigate through the room and its puzzles, centered around a creepy doll replica of your wife wearing her bloodied wedding ring, you come across an empty wardrobe that you can use for hiding. meaning you're gonna need this later when you're chased by God knows what. The thought alone is terrifying. After unlocking the door, the bright hallway you enter through is now darker and more ominous. Something's down here with you. Progressing through the puzzles, you're constantly reminded of the death of your wife. The puzzles are focused around you and your family, like the music box of your wedding and the films of your daughter and wife. Upon finishing the puzzle, there's only one room left. You step slowly down a pitch black stairway. Something below creaks back and forth. At the bottom is a well, and behind it, a baby cradle rocking on its own. Climbing down the well, your anxiety spikes, expecting the worst to happen. You turn around and breathe a sigh of relief as you instead find the key to your exit. Climbing back up, you realize this is far from over. The crib is broken and you can hear a baby crying. Heading back up the stairs, the room has changed. It's gone completely dark, apart from the grim red glow of the exit sign. Trails of blood and a cut umbilical cord lie on the floor, leading you down the hall. You follow the trail, the tension builds and builds. Then finally, true horror. You hear it before you see it. A giant, grotesque fetus crawling out of the dark, deformed with its mouth agape. All you can really do is run and hide, helplessly trying to outrun this creature in a cramped basement while desperately searching for a way out. You get a few seconds of relief after escaping the baby into this part of the basement and finding the last key needed to reactivate the elevator. But once again, the lights go out and the baby finds you, forcing you to hide under a bed like a scared child. Finding a break, you hurry to the elevator. As you turn it on, the creature reappears, and you have nowhere to run or hide while the elevator descends. It gets closer and closer as the elevator takes forever to open. You press the button to ascend as you're nearly face to face with the creature, just barely managing to escape. The way the tension built slowly from ominous dolls in the foggy cemetery that set the atmosphere, hallucinations of Mia that established that the theme ahead is interconnected personally and psychologically, the eerie and mostly silent house, with the exception of the unsettling creaking wood floors and sinister paintings, robbed of your weapons to fight back and forced to hide, broken cradles and cries of an unknown baby, all the way to that moment, made it the perfect setting for the scare to start. And how the chase happens takes an already tense, terrified player and amplifies it. And that's what makes it such a terrifying segment. I feel like with a lot of recent horror games, there's been a constant struggle with the right amount of balance between tension and scares. Hassle your player with too many jump scares, and they start to lose their effect and become tame. Spend too much time building up tension, and the final result falls short due to the expectation being too high. House Beneviento was the perfect balance between the two, building up the anxiety from the beginning for several minutes, slowly filling the player with dread and paranoia, then giving a glimmer of relief just to finally hit back with the grand finale scare of the giant fetus. I'm glad Resident Evil is back to its horror-centric roots, and I honestly wish Village had more terrifying moments in it besides this. And that's what makes House Beneviento the scariest section in the Resident Evil series. I'm very excited for Requiem, especially since it's still sticking to the true roots of Resident Evil, and I can't wait to play it. Do you guys have any other favorite scary moments from the series? I'd love to hear them. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Zyth, and I'll see you next time.